Life as a puzzle. Some pieces fit seamlessly, while others feel like they belong to an entirely different set. Every person, every experience, and every decision adds to a larger image, one that stays incomplete until the very end. People spend years searching for the right pieces, often without any idea of what the final picture will look like. From childhood, individuals begin collecting their first pieces. Family provides the starting set. The way parents speak, the daily routines, and the values they instill all form the foundation. Some of these early pieces are accepted without question. A child raised in a home that values education may view school as a natural part of life. Another, surrounded by instability, may come to see unpredictability as the only constant. These early pieces shape how we see the world. Someone from a loving home may expect kindness from others, while someone exposed to harshness may grow up always anticipating conflict. School introduces new pieces. Friendships are formed. Teachers leave impressions, and the learning goes far beyond what textbooks offer. Children come to understand that actions have consequences, that words can both heal and hurt, and that fitting in often takes real effort. Some of these pieces fall into place easily, like a natural talent for math or a love for history. Others feel out of place, like trying to enjoy a subject that never clicks. Then comes adolescence, and the puzzle grows more complex. The certainty of childhood fades, friendships shift, and identity becomes fluid. One day, there's confidence. The next, doubt creeps in. External pressures from parents, teachers, and peers add even more confusion. Teenagers must begin sorting, deciding which pieces to keep and which to let go. Not every lesson from childhood remains helpful. Beliefs must evolve. A rigid sense of right and wrong may soften with new insights. A fear of failure may become fuel for growth. Adulthood presents the most difficult pieces. Career decisions, personal growth, and relationships demand attention. Some people find pieces that fit right away, a clear path, a steady direction. Others wander, trying out different jobs or life choices before something finally makes sense. Relationships follow a similar pattern. Some friendships and romances fall perfectly into place. Others require effort. Some simply never fit, no matter how hard one tries. Mistakes often feel like the wrong pieces, whether it's a poor career move, a failed relationship, or a regrettable choice. But even these missteps have value. A job that didn't work out may still offer useful skills. A breakup might reveal what truly matters in a partner. Good or bad, every piece contributes to the bigger picture. Without the wrong pieces, the right ones might never be seen for what they are. Over time, personal growth can shift the entire puzzle. Priorities change. What once felt essential may lose importance. Someone who once chased approval might learn instead to value inner fulfillment. Beliefs evolve with lived experience. The puzzle isn't static. It grows, shifts, and reshapes with each chapter of life. People, too, influence each other's puzzles. A mentor might offer the missing piece of direction. A friend's encouragement could fill in a gap of self-doubt. Even negative experiences play a part. A betrayal teaches caution. A disappointment builds resilience. Every interaction, for better or worse, adds to the final image. Then come the unexpected pieces, those that bring sudden complexity, a loss, a new opportunity, a major change. These moments can shift the puzzle's direction entirely. The old plan no longer fits. What once made sense is now a blur. Adaptation becomes essential. Some pieces must be rearranged. Others let go a person's ability to adjust defines how well they navigate life's shifting landscape. And still, the puzzle never truly finishes. Even in old age, new pieces appear. A person might uncover a passion they never explored, reconnect with a long-lost friend, or transform a belief held for decades. The search continues. Some gaps never fill, and that's part of the design. Life doesn't offer all the answers. The missing pieces keep curiosity alive, and it's that curiosity that drives people to continue searching, learning, and growing. The existence of the unseen. Our senses guide us through the world, yet they also limit what we understand. Just because we can't detect something doesn't mean it isn't real. The unseen surrounds us, shaping our lives without us even noticing. Take air, for example. You can't see it, yet you know it's there. You feel it in the wind, see its effects when leaves rustle or clouds drift, and depend on it with every breath, though you rarely pause to acknowledge its presence. Someone who's never felt the wind might find it hard to believe in air. It's invisible, but still real. Sound works similarly. It's made of vibrations traveling through air, but only becomes meaningful when it reaches ears capable of detecting it. Humans hear only a narrow range of frequencies. Dogs hear pitches we can't. Elephants communicate in infrasound, which is too low for us to hear. These sounds are there, regardless of our ability to perceive them. Light is another example. Our eyes detect only a fraction of the electromagnetic spectrum, just the colors from red to violet. Beyond violet lies ultraviolet, which bees can see. Beyond red is infrared, which snakes use to sense heat. X-rays and radio waves are also part of this spectrum, though we can't see them without tools. Without the proper instruments, we'd never know they existed. Our bodies, too, operate with forces we cannot see. Neurons in the brain fire off electrical signals that become thoughts, memories, and actions. You can't see a thought, but you know you have them. Emotions follow the same rule. You feel joy, anger, or sadness, but these aren't physical things. The body responds. Your heart races, your muscles tighten, your face smiles, yet the emotions themselves remain unseen. History shows how often people have doubted the unseen. Germs were once completely unknown. Before microscopes, bacteria and viruses were a mystery. Illness was blamed on curses or bad luck. Now we know that tiny, invisible organisms cause disease. Gravity, too, was once just an idea. We feel its pull constantly, though we can't see it. Its presence is proven by falling objects, orbiting planets, and the moon's influence on tides. Electricity is another unseen force. Flip a switch, and a light comes on. Power flows through wires, but you can't see it. It becomes visible only in rare flashes, like lightning streaking across the sky. Magnetism is the same. A magnet can move metal without touching it, exerting an invisible force across space. The idea of the unseen reaches far beyond science. It touches human experience. Trust is invisible. You can't measure or grasp it, but you feel it when it's present and know when it's lost. Love is similar. It has no form, yet you see it expressed through actions and words. Fear, too, shapes lives, alters behavior, and drives choices, even though no one can point to fear itself. In today's world, the digital realm thrives on the unseen. Wi-Fi connects devices without any wires. Data flows through the air into our phones and computers, yet we never see it happen. For someone unfamiliar with technology, wireless communication would be almost impossible to explain. The internet itself is unseen. You type a question, and answers appear. Billions of data bits travel instantly, yet remain invisible. Our limited perception influences how we define reality. If we can't see it, many assume it isn't real. But again and again, history shows the unseen is often very real. People once thought the earth was flat because they couldn't see its curve. They believed the sun revolved around Earth because they couldn't feel the planet moving. Now we know how deceptive appearances can be. The same applies to emotional and personal experiences. Someone may feel completely alone in a crowded room. That loneliness is unseen, but as real as any physical wall. A person battling anxiety or depression might appear fine on the outside, while enduring intense inner struggles no one else can see. The unseen shapes relationships, influences decisions, and affects daily life in ways we often overlook. Even memory belongs to the unseen. You can't see the past, but you remember it. You can't physically touch a childhood memory, but it lives in your mind. Those memories shape identity. Someone who recalls past failures may hesitate to try again. Another who holds on to joyful memories might find strength in hard times. These invisible moments define who we are. Creativity is also born in the unseen. Every idea begins as an invisible thought. A painter imagines the picture before ever lifting a brush. A writer visualizes the story before typing a word. A musician hears a melody before playing a note. Every invention, work of art, and achievement begins in the unseen space of imagination before becoming reality. Beliefs, whether religious or philosophical, also center around the unseen. Many believe in forces that can't be measured. Some call it fate, others energy, or the divine. These beliefs guide choices, give life meaning, and offer a sense of purpose. Faith itself is unseen, yet it fuels hope, courage, and perseverance in times of uncertainty. Science continues to uncover more of the unseen. Dark matter and dark energy are thought to make up most of the universe. Though no one has directly seen them, we infer their presence based on how galaxies behave and gravity functions. Quantum physics shows particles acting in seemingly impossible ways, existing in two places at once, shifting state when observed, or affecting each other across great distances. The more we explore reality, the more we find that much of it is hidden. Space stretches with mysteries beyond imagination. The ocean depths conceal unknown creatures, and within our own minds, thoughts form, memories fade, and emotions rise, all unseen. Recognizing the power of the unseen changes how we see the world. It reminds us that our senses don't define reality. They only reveal part of it. It sparks curiosity, encouraging us to question the known and seek the unknown. It challenges our assumptions, pushing us to consider the invisible forces shaping every aspect of our lives. The unseen is not to be feared. It's not a void or emptiness. It's the very framework of existence. You wake up. The room is unfamiliar, the bed beneath you, the last time you're remembered. It's not a topic that usually arises in daily conversation, but eventually, there comes a final moment when someone thinks about you for the last time. It could be days, years, or even centuries after you're gone. When that moment arrives, what does it say about your existence? Does it hold any meaning? Memories of a person fade gradually. Right after someone passes, those who were close to them think of them often. Friends recall their conversations. Family members remember shared experiences. Co-workers talk about their habits. But as time progresses, these memories become less frequent. A son may think of his father daily at first, then only on special occasions, and eventually, only when something like a smell or a song sparks a memory. In time, no one will remember the sound of that person's voice or what they liked to eat for breakfast. Some names do endure longer. Historical figures, artists, writers, and scientists leave behind works that keep their names in public thought. A person might pick up a novel written a century ago and wonder about its author. A scientist's name might remain in textbooks long after everyone who knew them is gone. But even these names face limits. The further back in history we look, the fewer names remain. Even Egyptian pharaohs, whose tombs still stand today, are mostly just names etched in stone. Who they were as people is lost. Now consider the ordinary individual, someone who led a quiet life, loved their family, worked an honest job, and passed peacefully after many years. Though they may have influenced hundreds, within a few generations, their name will likely vanish from everyday memory. Their great-grandchildren might hear a story or two, but once those great-grandchildren grow up and have their own kids, the details fade. Old photos may sit in a box in an attic, but without context, they become images of strangers. Eventually, those photos are misplaced or thrown away. Some leave behind diaries, letters, or videos, records that keep their memory alive for a while longer. But even those items eventually degrade, are lost, or go unread. Digital storage may feel permanent, but files get deleted, formats become obsolete, and websites vanish. Contrary to the myth, the internet doesn't keep everything forever. Accounts close, data disappears, and without active preservation, digital footprints fade like everything else. The idea of being forgotten unsettles many. Some try to secure a legacy by creating art, writing books, or accomplishing feats worthy of history. Others focus on family legacies, sharing stories, passing traditions. A few take it further, establishing foundations, scholarships, or companies in their name. These acts can prolong remembrance, but they don't ensure permanence. For most people, memory lingers through stories. A grandmother tells her child about her own mother. A friend retells an old joke. A habit lives on in a family without anyone knowing its origin. In this way, influence outlasts memory. A person may be forgotten, but what they said or did continues subtly. A father's advice can shape how his son raises his own children. A stranger's kindness can inspire another act of kindness. Though the person is gone, the ripple of their actions persists. Some individuals are remembered because of tragedy. Criminals, dictators, and notorious figures sometimes have their names repeated for centuries. Their stories are told as warnings, lessons, or grim fascinations. But even these names eventually disappear. New ones fill the pages of history. As those who lived through past events die, only the most prominent names remain, and even then, just as names, their personalities, voices, and daily habits fade. Technology allows for the preservation of images, voices, and even interactive representations of people. Artificial intelligence can mimic how someone spoke or wrote. Videos can keep faces visible for future generations. But watching someone in a video decades later isn't the same as knowing them. A recording can't replicate their presence, or the way they made others feel, or how they laughed at their own jokes. So does being remembered really matter? Some spend their lives chasing fame, only to realize it doesn't bring meaning. Others live quietly, cherishing their loved ones with no concern for how long their name survives. In the end, does it truly make a difference if someone is remembered for 100 years or just 10? If your name is never spoken again, was your life less meaningful? There's another way to think about this. Through impact, not memory. If one person's life is changed, even in a small way, because of you, then your existence mattered. A teacher who encourages a student might never be remembered by name, but their guidance shapes that student's future. A nurse who comforts a patient during their final moments may not be remembered, but in that moment, they made a difference. A stranger who helps someone lost might forget the encounter, but for the lost person, it changed their day. The world is built on these unseen, often unnoticed moments of influence. Every person eventually reaches their final mention. There will be a last time their name is said, a final moment when their image is seen, or someone wonders about them. This isn't something to fear. It's part of existence. Everything fades. One day, even the sun will go dark, and earth will vanish. All things are lost to time, but that doesn't make the present any less real. It doesn't render love, effort, or kindness meaningless. It only means that life is for living, not for being remembered. Those who search for meaning through being remembered may miss the deeper truth. A life's worth isn't measured by how long a name endures, but by how deeply that life was lived. If a child laughs at a grandfather's old joke, that joy exists now. If someone smiles remembering a conversation, that moment of happiness is real. Memory has value, but it's not the true measure of life. A life is measured in the moments lived, the people touched, and the love shared, regardless of whether anyone remembers it in the end. People wake each morning, stretch, and shake off sleep as though it were something separate. The last trace of humanity. If humanity were to vanish tomorrow, what would remain? Cities would fall silent, streets would stand empty, and lights would flicker, only for as long as power grids continued to function. Nature would begin its slow reclamation. Vines would creep over concrete, and roots would break through roads. The world wouldn't end, but human presence would. What lingered would be the remnants we left behind, the structures we built, the signals we sent, and the damage we caused. Buildings might last for decades. Skyscrapers, once emblems of ambition, would begin to weaken as steel corroded and glass fell from their frames. Homes would stand a little longer, but without maintenance. Leaks and mold would gradually consume their walls. Roofs would eventually collapse under the weight of neglect. The most resilient structures, built from stone or reinforced concrete, might endure for centuries, hollow shells of what they once were. The pyramids of Egypt, already thousands of years old, would remain, though even they would slowly deteriorate. Bridges and dams, massive feats of human engineering, would fail without our care. Steel suspension cables would rust and snap. As dams broke down, rivers would reclaim their original courses, flooding areas that had been managed for generations. Some structures might endure longer than others. The Hoover Dam, built to last, might survive 1,000 years before erosion and pressure from the water overwhelmed it. The Great Wall of China, already partially consumed by the earth, would continue to erode, with stones gradually returning to the soil. If satellites continued to orbit, they would carry traces of human activity for centuries. Some would eventually fall back into the atmosphere and burn upon re-entry. while others would drift silently through space for thousands of years, mute reminders of a civilization that once reached beyond its own world. The Voyager probes, launched decades ago, would continue their journey through deep space. Each carries a golden record, etched with sounds and images intended to introduce humanity to any intelligent life that might encounter them. If such beings ever discovered these records, they might serve as the final proof that humans once existed. Radio waves would also stretch outward, transmitting signals from old broadcasts. The earliest transmissions, news reports, music, speeches, would travel endlessly at the speed of light. Though weak, they would reach farther than any object ever made. A far-off civilization, if equipped with sensitive enough instruments, could one day detect a faint echo of a 1940s broadcast, a ghostly whisper from a species long extinct. Beneath the Earth's surface, human waste would outlast even our buildings. Nuclear waste, buried deep underground, would remain hazardous for thousands of years. Some of it is sealed in secure facilities, but without upkeep, those barriers would eventually break down. Future organisms, if any survive, might stumble upon these places, unaware of the dangerous radiation they conceal. Plastic, one of the most pervasive materials humanity ever produced, would linger for millennia, especially in the oceans. While plastic debris would fragment into smaller pieces, it would not disappear. The planet's biodiversity would shift in unpredictable ways. Domesticated animals would suffer. Pets left alone in homes without food or shelter wouldn't survive long. Livestock bred for dependence on humans would perish in large numbers. Some animals might adapt. Feral dogs, for instance, could revert to their ancestral instincts, forming packs and competing with wild species like wolves. Rats and cockroaches, both well adapted to human environments, would find new ways to thrive. Birds would nest in the abandoned buildings until those structures crumbled. Plant life would grow unchecked. In some regions, forests would return to urban spaces. Roots would crack pavement, and trees would sprout through the remnants of offices and homes. In colder climates, many cultivated plants, dependent on heating, would die during harsh winters. Crops such as wheat, corn, and rice, which required human care, would vanish from the fields. Only the hardiest species, those capable of surviving without human help, would endure. In the oceans, marine ecosystems would shift as well. Overfished populations might rebound without human interference. Coral reefs, stressed by pollution and climate change, could begin a slow process of recovery. Deep-sea structures, like sunken ships and underwater cables, would become artificial reefs, new habitats for marine life, long after their original purpose was forgotten. The effects of climate change, driven by industrial activity, would continue long after we were gone. Carbon already released into the atmosphere would linger, influencing the planet's climate for centuries. The ongoing consequences of human-driven warming, melting ice caps, rising sea levels, and altered weather systems would unfold long after humanity's disappearance. Eventually, the Earth would reach a new equilibrium, but it would not return to its pre-human state. Some of the last traces of human existence might not be physical. If artificial intelligence systems remained functional, they could continue operating in isolated systems. Servers powered by solar energy might persist for years, preserving archives of human knowledge. If an AI had been built to learn and evolve, it might continue running its processes long after its creators were gone, perhaps still carrying out commands, even if those commands had lost meaning in an empty world. Eventually, nearly everything humanity built would decay, collapse, or become buried. The planet would go on reshaping itself, as it always has. Certain structures, materials, or artifacts might last longer than others, but in the grand scheme of time, our existence would leave only a brief trace, a thin layer in the geological record. If other species were to evolve in the distant future, they might discover fossils of our bones, remnants of our tools, or fragments of our civilization. They might wonder who we were, what we created, and why we disappeared.